Mayor, we live.
So today is June 2nd, 2021. The time is
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Daniel Damian. Here. Councilmember Monica Garcia.
I'll make a motion to excuse Councilmember Garcia. I believe she's any second. Actions?
Thank you. Thank you. Councilmember Paul Hernandez.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Alejandra Avila. And Mayor Emmanuel Estrada.
Mayor,
We do have one speaker, Beatriz Sandoval.
Hi. Hello.
Hi, good afternoon, Beatriz. Can you hear me? Hello?
Hello.
Hello, Beatriz, can you hear me?
I can listen a little bit.
Okay, you have 3 minutes to make your public comment, okay?
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for open the. I want to say thank you and congratulate the council, the city council, for open the chat last week for the city regular meeting. But today I'm talking about the distribution for Live Oak Avenue for the marijuana distribution products. I saw that in the agenda. They want to discuss today in closed session, but I like to. I watched the whole meeting in April when they bring the presentation. I like to support the distribution side in 14 or 30 Live Oak Avenue. Hopefully, they keep the promise to bring jobs to Baldwin Park residents. And also, I like to give one recommendation to them. Please, any donations do you want to bring to our community? Please do that contribution towards to our community needs, not for politician campaigns. That is very gross to listen our council members talking very nicely about one corporation better than talking about community needs. It's like I have to put that in the conversations. I open to have this discussion with everyone who wants to contact to me. But I'm sorry that Ms. Monica is not there because she was one of the who speak out very nice about the corporation. I understand she feels enthusiastic, but she needs to be focused more in our community needs than corporation needs. And don't lobby for her campaign contributions when talking about corporation. She is using us as chairs, our council, to keep her share, and that is not fair for our community. That is all from me today.
Thank you, Ms. Beatriz.
Thank you.
Great. City Clerk, is there anybody else looking to speak?
No one else.
Great. So at this moment, I will move to close public communications, and I believe we have an open study session with Rose Tam.
Thank you, Mayor. Rose is going to go ahead and give you a presentation on the budget, and this is an introduction to the budget. I believe she has and will send you all of these documents. So feel free to ask any questions you have tonight. Also, over the next 2 weeks, we'll bring this back in 2 weeks for the public hearing for consideration of the adoption of the budget. So if you have any questions tonight, feel free to ask. But also you've got 2 weeks to go through this, and contact Rose and I or if you have any other questions. Thank you. Rose?
Yes. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of City Council and residents of City of Baldwin Park and the community and business owners. I am here tonight to present you the proposed fiscal year 2021-22 budget. I'm going to present you the bar chart slide showing the overview of general fund. In this proposed budget, we have about $400,000 surplus added to the general fund reserve fund. Next slide, please. This slide will give you the overview summary of the general fund revenues. We projected about $770,000 in property tax and $983,000 in sales tax. We projected about $42,000 decrease in the transient occupancy taxes because of the continued impact of the COVID. And we projected $869,000 increase in franchise tax and $204,000 in utility user tax. And we also projected $135,000 in license and permits and about $31,000 in business license. We projected about $52,000 decrease in fines and penalties. And we projected $447,000 increase in use of money and property. And also, we projected about $1.5 million increase in property tax in lieu of BLF. And we projected $1.4 million decrease in charges of services. The reason of the 1.4 decrease in charges of for services because we allocated the projected revenue from the cannabis annual mitigation fee to the new fund we set up, which will be in Fund 237. And we also projected a miscellaneous increase for $507,000. And there is a transfer in increase of 1.127. This increase is about the difference of decrease in the charges for services because we are going to record the cannabis annual mitigation fee in Fund 237, and we are going to transfer about 50% of the projected mitigation fee to the general fund to cover many different areas such as the youth services and police department, and also the overhead administration costs and landscaping and park in those areas. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry. Does anyone have any questions of the revenue slides?
Rose.
Yes.
Yes, I'm not clear where that transfer in is coming from.
The transfer in is coming from the annual projected cannabis mitigation fee.
Okay, I missed that. Thank you.
Rose, you said that there was a 50% allocation from the cannabis mitigation fees?
Yes.
Why is there only 50%?
We want to project them in a conservative way. And if you want to see the slide, I can show you the slide with the breakdown. Would you like to see that slide?
If I could, she's assuming that we're only going to be able to collect 50% of what is available
Based on
because of
the current
the
situation.
past history. Yeah.
Would you like to see that slide, or we can go to the next one?
No, Shannon explained it. I was just
Okay.
curious as to why 50%. That makes
Okay.
sense.
Thank you very much. Next slide, please. So basically, this pie chart showing you the percentage of all the general fund revenues by category. As you may see, 80% of the general fund revenue are from the taxes. And then you can see about 7% from other miscellaneous revenue, then 2% from use of money and property, and 1.8% from license and permits, and about 1% from fines and penalties. Then we have 8.1% from charges for services. Next slide, please. This pie chart provides you a further detailed breakdown of each type from the general fund revenues. As you may see, it breaks down further for the percentage of each type of revenue, such as property taxes, sales taxes, and transient occupant taxes, and so on. Next slide, please. This graph showing you the general fund revenue history for the past 10 years. If no question, we can move to the next slide. I'm going to present you the projected general fund expenditures. This slide provides you the breakdown of projected expenditure by each department. And as you may see, from administration, finance, non-departmental, police, community development, public works, recreation services, and we projected the total increase for fiscal year 21-22 about 5 million in revenue, and we projected about 4.3 million increase in expenditure from the general fund. And I'm going to provide you more details about each department's increase or decrease by category. Next, please. In this slide, I'm going to show you the reason why we have about 295,000 decrease from the administration department. The main increase is from the $180,000 decrease in election costs from prior year. As you may know, we have a big election in the prior year. Then we also have decreased about $110,000 costs from the Internal Insurance Service Fund. And we have about $23,000 increase. Decrease in the legal fees because we allocate them to the insurance internal service fund. We also have about $11,000 increase in publication, subscription, and deals. And the other $40,000 decrease is mainly due to the 2019 POB bond accumulative savings from pension liabilities. We have less needed allocation to the insurance internal service fund because of that savings. And the $6,500 increase is mainly from the staff increases. And this sum up the total estimate decrease from administration.
Rose, I have a question.
Yes.
I had brought this up before, the decrease in the election cost. I wanted to see where that came from because it's usually we get an estimate and the estimate it's pretty close to what we get. Ms. Lulu, would you have or recall what the election cost was?
I think I can answer the question. And it's really just because last year we budgeted for an election and this year we're not. So we're just showing a decrease in there because we don't have to have a budget for this election. The next time we have election, you'll see that go up again. And that category just goes up and down each year depending on whether we have an election. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, but it doesn't make sense. You're answering, but I'm still not understanding why we're seeing it here.
So last year we had that amount in the budget and we don't need it this year, so we're removing it.
In this budget, the $180,000 is a decrease since we don't have any. We are not going to have a big election coming up. It's a decrease.
Got it.
Yes.
Rose, I have a question regarding the what is the internal insurance service fund? What exactly is that?
Okay, I can explain that. The internal insurance service fund covers all type of insurance such as workers' comp and general liability and in that nature mainly. And because of that, we allocate the estimate costs to everybody, to all the city employee based on the position and their allocation to each funds. You're welcome. May I move to the next slide? Thank you. This slide will show you the reason for the increase for finance department. And first you see about $3,000 decrease in contractual services. This decrease is due to the expectation of a new audit services contract, and we are going to present you from the proposal from 3 different auditing firms. We projected we are going to have decrease for the next 3 years based on the proposal we received back from 3 different auditing firms. And the next increase from maintenance and operation is mainly due to the allocation increase in the internal service funds, including IT and insurance. Each department has to have allocation to the internal service fund to cover the IT services and insurance, as I explained a little while ago. And the other increase is about $126,000. It's mainly due to adding accountant to the department while we eliminating the assistant accounting manager position, and which would have cost the city $161,000. We are still provide savings. I'm going to hire accountant in a low level, and it will eliminate the assistant accounting manager position, provide savings to the city. Any questions?
Is this position currently frozen?
The assistant accounting manager, we have frozen this position for a couple years.
So you're going to replace.
Yes.
So instead of bringing in the assistant accounting manager at 161,000, you're going to be bringing them in at 126,000.
Yes. And because of COVID and other matters, we try to tighten up the budget and provide savings. So we have freezed this position for a couple years. But due to the need and all the grants coming in and the COVID grant and ARP, that there will be lots of works to do. So we need to unfreeze that position, but we are going to fill it in a lower level position.
How many people are you currently short-staffed in your department?
How many people in my department?
That you're short-staffed.
About 2 to 3 compared to what we used to have many years ago.
And so my last question is, does your department or your staff handle any of the Be Proud business?
Yes.
So we're in a sense taking manpower from your department for the Be Proud, correct?
Yes. On a monthly basis, about 2 or 3 of my staff need to spend extra 4 to 8 hours to handle that per month.
4 to 8 hours a month per staff member?
It depends which one. My accountant, he needs to spend extra time handling accounting transactions related to the Be Proud. And also my accounting manager handles some of the matters in the area, and also I need to spend some time in that area to review all the transactions, and to the CEO need to certify all the transaction too, and I need to provide verification with the banks for all the transactions that we have every month.
How many hours would you anticipate that your entire department spends a month for the Be Proud? Are we talking about 10 hours a month combined, 20?
I would say 10 to 20 hours.
Do you have an idea of the dollar amount or an estimation?
I haven't really calculated that, but 10 to 20 hours is about the right time that we have to spend each month.
And if you can...
That's combination of my time and the accounting manager's time and accountant's time.
If you can get me a dollar amount on that, Rose.
It's about $800 of just taking an average salary times 15 hours a month.
About $800 a month. That's
Yeah.
including Rose's time.
I can email you the information.
We can get it.
Thank you.
We can get a more exact answer. And hopefully, the situation right now, we're not able for Be Proud to pay administration to the city. But I believe in the future, once things get stabilized, Be Proud would be able to contribute up to possibly $300,000 a year for the staffing levels for the city, the finance and administration.
So in other words, in this budget, we did not include the staff's time and cost in this budget. But like Shannon say, in case in the future, if we generate revenue, then we might be able to pay some of the staff's time.
Mr. Mayor? Yes, thank you. Rose, just a general question.
Yes.
Could you provide us, in the next week or so, the number of unfreeze positions throughout each department that we're going to be looking at that the departments are looking to approve for us?
Yes. Actually, I have that slide already to show you how many staff unfreeze in each department. As I am going through each slide, I will tell you how many positions that each department unfreeze.
Perfect. And then the other question, follow-up, which you probably don't have at this time, is of those positions that are being unfrozen, how many of those positions or percentage of their salary are billable back to a grant or some other M&A charge that we don't know of yet right now?
Okay.
A special fund?
A special fund that, again, we have to pay them out of the general fund right now, but we'll be able to bill back part or all of their salary. Because that helps us understand if we're actually truly if we're subsidizing all of it, a part of it, or if we're doing 100% of their salary and vice versa. Because again, that gives us a better picture as to what each position is tied to, not just 100% of the general fund, which we have here. I care more about what's also allowable to a grant, considering the American Recovery grants. I don't know if we can charge M&A to that, or other grants that are coming on that are associated to those unfreeze positions that are being proposed. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. However, most of the general fund percentage we are allocating to the staff now that we might not be able to reimburse by the grant, except in certain area we can get reimbursed from the ARP. Okay. And if they were previously furloughed due to the COVID situation, such as many part-time positions, they were furloughed because of the COVID situation, and lots of programs got closed, and now they come back to work. We might be able to reimburse some of the costs in that area.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So the add-on to the initial request that I asked is, can you also provide the number of or the amount or the percentage that each department personnel is being subsidized or being charged back to a grant or other special funds?
Okay, thank you.
And I think Rose does have a slide on the positions, but I think, Rose, they're also in the detail breakdown.
Yes.
You were just handed, so if you're able to look at that later, and if you have questions, let us know.
What page?
I also emailed it to the city council last night. I apologize. I wish I could have emailed it to you earlier. I emailed a couple of slides and the spreadsheet to show you all the positions each department promote or reclass or unfreeze or edit to the department.
Can you tell me what page that sheet with the itemized stuff?
So in the detail breakdown, it's by each department.
Yes, I am going to go through that with you. Yeah, by each department.
For example, if you look at Roman numeral VI-11, that would be community development. So it shows all the positions for the previous year, what's proposed for the current year. Those ones that are in the brackets are proposed frozen for salary savings.
Right here, it's for finance.
So this is finance, so these would be the
got all of them. Thank you.
Hey, Rose, next slide. Next slide.
Yes. You want? Just in case, I have the line item on the website too. Okay, Mark, thank you. Next slide, please. This slide showing you the non-departmental increase. This increase is mainly for the 1.11 million that we are going to deposit to the California Employers Retirement Benefit Trust account with CalPERS. And this deposit was from the surplus from fiscal year 2019 and 2020. And we, after the audit and any surplus, 50% will be deposited to the sub account. However, I want to mention to you this deposit of 1.1 million is not going to reduce the general fund reserve balance because of the about 2 million cumulative savings from the 2019 POB bond. And when we issued the 2019 POB bond to pay down the unfunded pension liability, at that time we projected we have about 23 million savings over the next 30 years. And that's why we start seeing these savings from each year. In 2020, we see about 2 million savings from the pension liability. That's why we are able to also see surplus, and we are able to send about 1.1 million to the sub account and for the rainy day. And also we have about $8,477 estimate increase for the retiree insurance. The retiree health insurance. Any question on this page? If no, we go to the next slide. This slide will give you some information about the increase for the police department. The first category is the contractual services. And the $940,000 increase mainly including an estimate of $310,000 in legal fees, cover some of the outstanding claims, and also we are going to have the MOU labor negotiation coming up. And also we added back the jail services, and I understand we already present that to you in the mid-year that we are going to add back the jail services. However, in this 21-22 budget, we have to compare the number with the original adopted budget at the beginning of 2021. And also, you see about $50,000 added back to the crossing guards. And we also have about $14,000 increase in the software support services. And next, we have about $658,000 in the maintenance and operation increase. This increase is mainly from the internal insurance service fund because we are going to unfreeze 3 full-time police positions and 4 part-time police positions. And also you can see under the personnel costs, and that increase is also because of the unfreezing 3 police full-time position and 4 part-time positions. However, you also will see increase in revenues from the parking citations because we are going to unfreeze part-time positions to help out the parking division.
Rose, if I may?
I think the chief and Chris are here in case you have further question, and I think they can answer that too.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Chief, and perhaps our Rose, regarding the 3 full-time positions, are those vacant positions that we're filling based on retirees, or what type of positions are these? Are these entry levels, I suspect?
I believe those are the ones, that's the assistant chief and the 3 commanders that was put in the previous budget for the, during the reorganization.
So that
I'm sorry, it's 1 assistant chief and 2 sergeants.
I figured. So that adds additional questions. So are you looking to maintain the current model moving forward? Because I know there had been some discussion of changing the model and so forth. Because again, the current model that exists now presents some cost savings to the city and to the department.
I think, we're planning to do a reorganization to allow us to go back to 2 captains, 4 lieutenants, and the 10 sergeants. So we're in the process of presenting that to the city councils, hopefully either the next meeting or the following meeting, so that we can get that going.
Okay. That said, then should we necessarily just put a hold on that until we actually have the full discussion in regards to the new model or the old model that we're looking? Because again, the whole reason for why we changed it was because there was cost savings related to the positions. So now going backwards, it sounds like it's going to cost the department more in the operational costs, and more importantly on the personnel costs here, which are quite significant.
Chief, I think if I could comment, Rose handed me the list of the positions that are being put back in. It's 2 full-time sergeants, 1 full-time record specialist, part-time cadet, and 3 part-time parking officers. We are looking at the reorg, and we're looking at bringing that back to you, separate from the budget. I know the chief and Rose and I are working on that now, but we did want to bring it separate and not confuse it with the budget, and that will handle the issues of lieutenants versus commanders, and we're looking at that to bring that back to you at either no additional costs or possibly additional savings.
Okay.
That's correct.
Perfect. So the other conversation piece that I have, at least for now, and we can discuss further, is the jail services and also the specialized units that we have, whether it's the K9, SWATs, and so forth. If possible, if staff could provide us a memo justifying each of those positions or each of those tasks moving forward, because again, we have a jail service, and we do a lot. But again, understanding how many folks we're arresting versus the time allocated to send someone, I believe it would be El Monte, the time calculation to that, is it worth us traveling, to the other side and vice versa? Because that's a significant amount of funding that could certainly help fund some other social programs in our city.
Okay, that's correct. We did take a look at that, and I think when you take a look at the officer safety issue and also having the officers in the city, that adds a benefit to the city and to the department, as opposed to having to book over at El Monte or any other facility that takes us out of the city and spends time at another facility. So we did take a look at that.
I appreciate that, but I'd like to also for the rest of the council to receive that analysis so we could look at that and discuss that at the later as we continue this conversation.
Yes, sir.
That would certainly help us. What I also don't see generally here is the body cam expansion or anything of that nature. Is there any needs for that?
But we are going to present it here shortly as well.
Okay. Perfect. We'll have a lot of conversations over the next couple weeks. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Chief. I'm looking forward to your presentation so we can better understand it.
I appreciate it. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Body cams were approved last, oh, you were, and that monies was appropriated into the budget for that. Right, for the. Okay, I think we did budget for 1 year, but you're correct, there will be ongoing costs each year.
May we move to the next slide?
Before we move on, I just wanted to, I think, I like Councilmember Hernandez's points, and then I just wanted to ask about the crossing guards. Is there any other alternatives that we have? And are these contractual services? Are we going to hire a firm to come out and be the crossing guards, or is this handled by PD?
Yeah, typically in the past, we have contracted that service out. It was suspended due to COVID. We're anticipating bringing it back. I know the chief does want to meet with the school district and discuss that and hopefully, come to some partnership on it and possibly cost sharing, but that hasn't been determined yet.
Okay, and then can we potentially also look at other possibilities, maybe a volunteer program with seniors? Is there any sort of certification that's needed?
Yeah, we can look at that.
Okay, great, thanks.
Next slide, please. This slide will show you the breakdown of the community development's increase or decrease. The first increase for the contractual services includes $329,000 in legal fees for a couple of existing claims. About $50,000 will be for the handling of building inspections and other services in absence of staff. And the 2,000 decrease is mainly from the allocation to the internal fleet service fund. We also have about $119,000 increase because we unfreeze one of the assistant planner position. So that will summarize the total increase about $500,000 in community development department. Any questions?
Yeah, Rose, what is, I've got a, go ahead, Councilmember. Anyway, Rose, I've got a question in regards to the 50,000 consultant services to handle building inspections and other services in absence of staff.
Yes.
What exactly does that mean in absence of staff? Is that when staff is not available?
Rose, I'm sorry. Yeah, I can answer that question. And that's an amount that's been in past budgets, and it's used for various services, overflow services. We strive to do all of our plan check services in-house, although some big projects come in and some developers ask for expedited processes. And this having this available allows us to send those out. Also, we do have only 2 building inspectors. If the workload is really heavy and they take a vacation, we typically need to bring in someone to backfill that time.
And then we're looking to unfreeze the assistant planner.
Correct.
Pardon me, sorry.
Other personnel cost is your
Correct.
The other personnel costs, you're saying you're unfreezing the assistant planner position
Yes.
as well?
Yes, for planning division. Currently, they only have 2 staff in the planning division.
Perfect. Thank you, Rose.
What is the normal staff? How many staff members would we normally have?
That was typically part of the staffing level, and it was vacant when COVID hit, so we just basically froze it. But typically they would have the 3, and I think you've also have a couple interns.
Yes.
There we go. So we converted 2 part-time planning tech positions to create a full-time assistant planner position, which is an essential position in the department because, as Rose mentioned, there are 2 planners. That includes myself, the city planner, and an associate planner to handle all development review for the city. So we were able to manage during COVID, but again, it's essential that that position be unfrozen to continue providing services to the community.
Mr. Mayor, if I may? Thank you. Ron, have we done an analysis if it's cheaper for us to hire and, do the contract services versus hiring somebody for $120,000 for that position? Or just as an extra body? To look at the reviews and so forth? Because again, the ebbs and flows of the workflow that happens with the planning, that might be a different alternative that saves us money, not only on the salary cost, but also on the fringe benefit cost and so forth.
To answer your question, frankly, no, we have not looked at that.
Can we do that and also do an analysis based on the workload, not during COVID necessarily, but also before COVID? And then also if there's a sense of the type of work that's going to be happening, now and, post-COVID, that can certainly help us. Because again, I'm not necessarily just want to start filling positions back automatically without having done the deep dive, or at least have staff gone through the work process of understanding if it's better just to perhaps, have this person, maybe we only hire them for 6 months instead of doing the full 12 months, come July 1.
Yeah, no, good points. Just historically, based on my experience so far being with the city, the ebb and flow that you refer to, there is a constant flow of work that comes through our department. I will be frank in that it's quite amazing. Sometimes I ask myself, how do I do it with the one staff member that I have in the department to process most of the development within for the city. And again, as I mentioned, one of the big reasons why we converted the 2 part-time planning techs is because we were seeing a revolving door. And it happens. You go to other cities, usually your planning interns, your planning techs, especially if they're getting really good experience, right after 6 months, they're taking off. So that has an effect on full-time staff in continue to provide that service because we're constantly having to train. So that full-time planning assistant allows us to continue providing those services to the development community and to the community as a whole.
I understand that. Just in the next 2 weeks, if you can provide us just a memo and analysis on that workflow, and also look at, like I mentioned before, the use of contractual services for that position, to see if the workload actually does justify hiring somebody full time for 12 months, 8 months, or even 6 months in this upcoming fiscal year.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Mayor? Thank you, Ron, for that. I know you are very busy because I do get a lot of calls from community members that it takes a while, especially right now with COVID, to get the service because you don't have enough staff and you are trying to do the best that you can. So I do believe you need another staff member there. But having said that, Rose, I see that you're adding staff members. I see to the police, finance, all the other departments I know are lacking a lot of staff. Did you have that discussion, and is it in the budget to start adding staff that we're short of? Because I know for a fact every department is low on staff. Is that on this budget?
Yes, and that's part of why this position is bringing back. We would have normally filled it automatically, but because it was frozen during COVID, it was sort of caught in that. And it is kind of our baseline staffing level. We do have the ability to contract out if work increases. But I know we also did look at, because we used consultant services for building and safety, which is similar to planning, for quite some time, and we looked at that, and it was actually definitely costing us more than bringing in the in-house staff.
Mm-hmm. So I understand it's important to have the in-house staff because when you have somebody here all the time, they get to know our city better, get to know our community members better, and I think they would provide better service because they belong to the city staff. But what I mean also is all the other departments, I'm sure, are lacking staff. And so I would like to see, if you did allocate it here, where is it exactly that, besides these 3 areas that I mentioned, that you allocated money for more staff to come in and start doing the work that I know we have fallen behind on right now because of COVID, but because we actually need it on a regular basis. So if you can give me a detailed list of where this stuff is going and how much money you allocated for that.
I think Rose has that slide. I think if you want, she can go to that now, or
Okay, if it's there, go ahead. I'll
we
wait.
can just get to it in a minute.
Okay.
We can put
Because I just see recreation here. I don't see anymore.
Hi, Mark. Could you please put up the personnel request slides?
Do you want to skip ahead to that, or do you want to just
No,
go?
I can wait till you go through every
It's
slide.
probably
and then
better
get
to go
it.
in order
Yeah,
because
go
I
in
think
order, Rose.
we need to
okay.
If it's there, we'll get to it.
look at the bottom
Okay.
line on the budget and
And-
what's included and what's not included in the budget.
Right. Oh, and I can resend you that worksheet again. Next, we are going to go to Public Works. Public Works showing a total decrease of $103,000. I'm going to go through each category. We have about 20,000 increase due to upcoming new developments, plan checking, and will be covered. However, this cost will be covered with the development fee revenue. Also, we have a very small increase, about $800 for the maintenance and operation. It's due to the allocation to internal insurance service fund. We have about 3,400 decrease due to the allocation of personnel costs. And also we have about $120,000 less transfer out, normally come from the general fund to support Prop A Parks Fund activities. As I mentioned earlier, I allocate this $120,000 to support the Prop A Park funds from the cannabis annual mitigation fees. And that's the reason you see the decrease in this area. Any questions? If no, we go to the recreation community services. In the community recreation and community service, you see about 438,000 increase. And under the contractual services, you see about 9,000 increase. Mainly is for the promotional material design, senior prom, entertainment, teen center mentor programs, facility use fees and snacks purchased from BPUSD, and outdoor movies. And it's due to the reopening to the public. Also, you see about 110,000 increase in maintenance and operation. The increase includes 19,000 materials and supplies for reopening, again in here. And you also see about 20,000 to reinstate full custodial services. About 19,000 for utilities increase and 7,500 for repairs. The increase also includes allocation to the insurance and free internal service fund. And then you see about 331,000 increase in the personnel costs. The increase mainly due to unfreezing of one full-time maintenance worker, one staff promotion, one staff reclassification, and also unfurlough and rehiring of part-time staff for reopening of programs and activities. And we have about 11,000 decrease due to smaller bond payments because we still have the bond payment from many years ago when we issued the bond for the community center and Morgan Park area. Any question for recreation?
Do you have an idea about how many part-time staff members we will be rehiring?
Many is here also, many. Will you be able to answer that question?
I know, I don't have any.
Thank you for that question. We'll probably be hiring or rehiring probably 30 to 50 part-time staff members. We are going down the list as I speak right now, asking staff to return to work. It's just a little challenging right now because it seems that staff are not coming back. They have other options.
Right, so is that the amount of staff that we let go, 30 to 50, or? Do you
I'd have to refer that to Rose. We reduced our workforce significantly, and the ones we did keep reduced their hours. But Rose, can you answer how many staff we furloughed approximately a year ago? I would probably guess about 70-ish.
Yes. Wow. And maybe it's more than that. In this budget, we include about 171 part-time position. Mm-hmm. So you're adding almost 100 part-time staff back.
Yeah, I think it was closer to 80, 85 that were furloughed.
I remember seeing 77, 85 then. It was a significant amount of staff members, and it's going to actually take time for us to rehire all of the staff, our lifeguards, and so on. It is a tall order, but we're definitely starting the process.
So if we let go of about 80 staff members and we're only looking into getting 30 to 50 staff, how is that going to work for you able to run your full program?
Oh, we have to look at is that the number that we're bringing back, Rose, 30 to 50, or I don't remember offhand specifically how many staff we are bringing back.
Well, I think we also brought some back during the year as things started ramping back up. You had to bring some back to do some of the giveaways. To
some of the giveaways and cleaning
sites. So some were brought back during the year.
Yes, as I approve all the timesheets, I'm approving timesheets for staff working 2 hours a week, 5 hours a week. So all those staff members will increase to 20 to 30 hours a week, depending on the need. But it's been our past practice, if we need additional staff, Rose and the CEO have been very gracious where we're able to hire additional staff, because we may have one staff working 10 hours and that assignment could be 32 hours a week. So we may have another staff working 5 hours, another staff working 7 hours to fill that gap of 32 hours for that one assignment.
So I can see why many people don't want to come back, because they're not getting enough hours. So they're probably looking for somewhere where they can get a full-time job. I know a lot of your staff has been here for a long time.
Yes.
As part-time workers. So what can we do to help the program? Because that program I know runs on a lot of part-time work, and they've been working for years and years hoping to get on board as full-time, and I'm sorry, but I don't blame them for not coming back if they're not promised, more hours. We can't survive on 32 hours. So what can we do to fix that problem? Because it is a big problem at Parks and Recreation, money-wise.
So, we can get you the breakdown on exact numbers. It is, It is complicated because many of them are seasonal. Many of them are only working in the summers, and Manny can comment on this. Some of them only are available to work a few hours a week. But I think those that want to work 32 hours a week, you're able to do that.
Yes,
for the most part,
we've done
depending on the positions.
yes, we've done a pretty good job at providing staff hours, and that's part of the reason why we have staff members working 5, 6, 10 plus years with us on a part-time salary. Some of them work for the school district, some are students, some have other obligations, but we definitely do our best. I think one of the elements of retaining staff, or maybe two, are the hourly wage that we pay our staff members. In addition, if there's any alternatives to exceed the 999 hours a year, which then you go into PERS, and there's an additional cost to the city. Those are two long-term items that if we could probably address, they wouldn't be full-time, but it would definitely be much better for the staff members.
Right, they would want to stay longer. And I understand there's people that can only work part-time because they hold other jobs and that's all they want. But I do know of quite a few of your staff members that are still there hoping to get more hours on, and because they really love what they're doing and they do an excellent job.
Yes, they do.
Your program is a great program. So that's just something that I think we need to look at to show them that they are appreciated, because they want more work. Some of them, of course, not all of them. So if we can just look into that to see what the cost could be.
Okay, thank you.
Department.
Manny, really quick.
Yes, sir.
Do you know approximately how many non-personable staff members you have in your department?
Probably need to refer that to Rose, but I would probably guesstimate about 10% of the part-time staff are probably PERSable, maybe 15%.
I will look through the records and let you know. I will email that information to all the city council members.
Yeah, please, Rose, if you can send us a full list of all staff members that are non-personable.
Yes.
Because that may be something that we need to look at, because if they can't exceed the 960 hours a year, like right now, we're going to have an issue with a few of the programs that we're trying to bring back because we don't have the manpower. And, I think we're going to end up spending more money trying to rehire people, train them, put them through the background checks. And if we were to give them the opportunity to work more than those 960 hours a year and maybe even make them personable, it would give them that incentive to stay.
Yeah, we need
So maybe that's something that we should, address and look at. So if you can just, send the council a full list of all the non-personable staff members so we can evaluate that and see what our options are.
We can run the numbers on that, and I think Rose and I can look at the costs, and I have some ideas. I'll talk to Rose about it. It may even be a break even.
Yeah, let's look at the whole program and the needs of the program, because I know that's one of the programs that has been out in the community during COVID, and I know some of your staff has worked long hours, split days, because we don't have staff right now. But that's something that happens throughout the year. Pre-COVID, they were always working, having to break their hours, and then he would bring somebody else in just so they wouldn't go over the time allotted. So I think it's really important that we look into that and make sure that we are providing an opportunity for them. They want to stay here and they want to continue working for the city and not look elsewhere, because right now we're very short-staffed. And again, I understand why. We do need that staff. Thank you.
Okay, I will provide the list of part-timer, personable and non-personable after the meeting. We are going to the next slide, please. So this slide will provide you the general fund transfer out. As I mentioned earlier in the previous slide, and this is the transfer out to pay the community lease bond. It's about $586,900 that we subsidize from the general fund to pay this bond payment. If no question, we go to the next slide. This slide provides you the bar chart and show you what is the percentage of the general fund expenditure from each department. If no question, we go to next slide. This slide will show you the general fund summary for the proposed fiscal year budget 2021-22. And the total projected revenue will be about 33.4 million. And the total projected expenditure, including the transfer out, will be about 32.9 million, and which give us a projected surplus of 400,000.
Rose, if I could say a couple comments.
Yes.
As you know, last year most of the community events were removed from the budget. So we're showing you this number now, but we're going to bring you to another slide very soon where we have the list of the community events that were removed from the budget and have the council have some opportunity to give us input to put those back into the budget. Also, in addition, I know we've talked about the ARP funds. We're still looking at all of the final guidance on those, and we didn't want to confuse those funds with the budget. So when the budget's adopted, we're going to bring those funds back to you probably in a study session so that the council can give direction on how to allocate those separate from the budget process. Any questions?
No question. I don't know if City Council have questions.
Okay.
If no, we move to the next slide. This slide will provide you the list of special events and programs that Shannon just mentioned that you can give us guidance or direction, let us know which program you want to add it back, and then we will readjust the general fund, or we can see if other funds can support this program also after you provide us the list that you want the program to add it back to fiscal year 21-22.
Mr. Mayor? Thank you. I mean, my suggestion would be to bring all these programs back, with the caveat of, whatever the county allows us to do come June 15th, just set aside all the money. If we're allowed to do the street markets, then great. If we're allowed to do the 5K run, that's fantastic. The one thing I would ask is perhaps we want to increase maybe the trick or treat with a cop from 2,600 maybe to perhaps 4,000 or so, because that is an event that gains and has a lot of attendance, more so than expected, I think, each and every year. Because I know one of the things that our officers do is they go and ask for donations from the community. I don't think that they should be doing that. I think we should allocate the money for them so they can provide the services for our youth. So that would, I think, lessen the burden on them to be focusing on any type of donation requests or anything like that, and perhaps also just make the event that much nicer. So, I mean, those are just some of my comments. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Of course, I like all of these events. We have to keep in mind the staff, because I know, again, we go back to Parks and Recreation. They're the ones that cover most of these events besides the ones that the police department handles. So looking back on that, we make sure that we have enough staff to cover them. I would like to allocate the funds for it and make sure that they're there in case we do have the proper staffing to carry on these events. Let's look at them and discuss it.
So is there any way, are you going to say something? No. So is there any way?
So true. You have about 402,000 surplus, and you've got $489,000 of events here. We do believe we can fund the job fair with the ARP funds, although that's a small amount. I think Councilmember Damien has an item on tonight to help subsidize the businesses at the downtown street market, which may help that event a little bit. I think we would prefer, for the most part, to get direction, because there's a lot of planning on these events that go on. At least if we could get direction, on the bulk of these to implement them in the budget, and we could bring back those later that as they come up. Just keep in mind the 4th of July is for 2022, not 2021.
So that was my next question. Are these, obviously some of these are already getting close to the timeline, or are these going to also move over for 2022?
These would be, with the exception of the July 4th, because it requires planning and funding months ahead of time normally. These would cover all of the events between July 1st of 2021 to June 30 of 2022 for the fiscal year.
Well, I could already see, being that the street market is so close, and looking at the fact that we have no staff, that's already pretty hard to imagine happening. I would like for it to happen, but we need to have a discussion of what events we would like to keep on here.
Yeah, and actually that was, obviously for next year, I think we want to keep all of these events, because we do want to start bringing all that back. But this was going to be for a later discussion in open session at the regular meeting, was the downtown street market. We were going to bring that. That was one of my items. However, after speaking with staff and realizing that we don't have the manpower for this particular event, we're going to have to move it over to next year. We were hoping to start the street market in August, but because they're not able to hire the staff and there's nobody applying, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to do the program this year. So, obviously, we still want to move it and plan for it for next year, but that's going to be a big cost savings for 2021. So I say let's remove the street market and allow the rest of the programs, obviously considering that we have the manpower from the Parks and Rec.
I believe Lola and Manny can answer this question too, because I believe Recreation, Manny and his staff has been doing a great job. They submit many of the requests to fill, and Shannon and I have authorized them. I have seen them. I have seen HR publish the hiring for 5 different type of positions, and I do not know how many applicants have applied for those positions. And I know about 2 weeks ago, I authorized all those requests to fill position, and Shannon also approved them, and they've been posted on the city's website for hiring. And maybe Lola can update you later how many applicants have applied for those 5 different positions. Those positions are for the opening of senior center and the street market and different special program, teen centers, things like that. So I believe Lola can provide you the information later on how many people have applied for those positions. And I think they are doing, they are moving along. If we have enough applicants, and plus some of the staff, part-time staff have come back to Recreation, we might be able to start a program, right, Manny?
And yes, thank you, Rose. And Manny maybe can comment on this, but maybe a compromise and a solution would be to, cut the number of events in half. That would allow us to get a little bit of staffing hired up. It would save money. Would probably provide you a balanced budget. It would provide some of the businesses opportunity to have a street fair, but not as many events.
Yeah, that would be up to city council's discretion. But just looking at these numbers, if we delete the downtown street market, the concerts are not going to happen this time around, nor the Pride of the Valley 5K run. That is approximately about $270,000 that I just added up quickly. So just keep that in mind, the 488 minus the 270, or yeah, about $270,000.
So due to the restrictions, you would recommend that we not do the concerts or the Pride of the Valley run this year?
Yes, a little late for the concerts because the concerts would start at the end of the month. So there's a tremendous amount of coordination in regards to the concerts. We're still in time for the street market if council wishes. That's probably with my mindset of thinking the cup is half full if people are going to come and apply. As of right now, Rose did mention we have a number of positions available, and I don't believe we've had any applicants apply yet. So we're going to have to retool that to see how we could get more applicants. We are in the process of calling former staff members if they would like to come back, looking for some seasonal work. So we are definitely doing our due diligence of trying to hire additional staff members.
So thank you, Manny, and I know you do everything in your power to please the council, but we have to keep in mind the staffing that's not there, and we're going through the hiring, and it's still not enough people have applied for the positions that you need to carry on these projects. And I agree, the concerts in the park, it's too soon. Then comes the street market, and the part of the valley is also right around the corner. So those are events that we need to keep in mind that may just not be feasible at the time because of staffing.
Thank you. Manny, in regards to Pride of the Valley, is it just the timing that's the biggest logistics right now? Because that's usually the first or second.
That's the first Saturday in August, and we would need to get the PR out. All of the participants registered. We usually have pre-registration concluding the first week of July, and then we place the order for the shirts. What I don't want to do is order too many shirts, order too many awards, and get stuck with them, because those are dated type of events. Right. So I would probably recommend not to have the Pride of the Valley run. We've missed a lot of the publications where we get the word out. If for those of you that participated in the last 10, 15 years, the run has really evolved with a high school age. So we have some of the nation's best, not that quality matters, but we have some of the fastest and most prestigious high school teams in the nation, if not California, because California is a state that has the top
Manny,
kids.
In regards to that statement, is it possible to host the event later in the year, such as October or September or even early November, and instead of Pride of the Valley, it becomes the Turkey Trot or the Halloween?
We could.
I don't know.
We could have a 5K event. Keep in mind that the high school kids are still in cross-country season, so they're under the CIF guidelines, so they're not able to compete. We would be attracting the weekend warriors of 5K participants that are adults. My quick numbers would be probably we would have about 170 participants. So versus the 700 or 800 up to 1,000 we've had at our peak.
So can you just, perhaps, maybe what we can do is just put a hold on this particular item for now, and ask you to come back to see, what would be a tentative alternative date for this next year that aligns with the school,
Sure.
and whatever else, to see, because also we charge a fee for this, right?
We do. We charge a fee, and generally speaking, we break out even, or we turn a small profit.
Exactly. So again, if we're able to do something like this, whether it's in January of next year or something, if you can perhaps, just come back to the council to look at what that looks like for us.
Will do.
As it relates also to the staffing levels, the outreach, and everything else, that seems more of a possibility than just outright discontinuing this event for next year.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
So what I'm hearing, just so Rose has direction to run the numbers for you in 2 weeks, it sounds like the consensus is to remove the concerts in the park, remove the street market, and then bring the Pride of the Valley back for future consideration. That okay? Yes. Yes.
Just so I'm clear, are you going to leave the amount for the Pride of the Valley? Or are you going to just put it on a hold on the side until 2 weeks from now for Manny? Give us that information.
It's a small amount. I think we could leave it in, but bring the item back to the council for further direction as far as the dates and the planning and final direction.
Sounds perfect.
Okay, thank you. Next, please. This slide provides you the overview of citywide proposed budget, and due to the limitation of the time, in this presentation, we mainly focus on the general fund. However, all the proposed budget line items, including all other funds and special revenue funds, have been posted on the city's website. In the budget section under finance, the public and everyone can view from the city's website. And the total citywide proposed budget is about 33 million, and with a total increase of 4.7 million from the prior year. Next slide, please. This pie chart shows you the percentage of the total citywide expenditures from each department. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, and we can refer the citywide proposed budget department line items that has been posted in the city's website under finance. The new capital improvement projects for fiscal year 2021-22 will be presented to you separately at a later date, most likely at the end of July or August, after we adopted the citywide budget. Finally, next slide, please. Finally, we want to thank all the department heads and their staff, as well as finance staff. The preparation of this proposed budget reflects their hard work, dedication, and commitment. And finally, we want to also thank the Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council for their continued support and guidance. And as I mentioned, this is only the proposed budget, and we welcome all the direction or instruction from you or questions you may have. You can email me or call me anytime with any questions you may have after this meeting. And with all the department line items, you are also welcome to contact the department head directly also. Thank you all.
And Rose, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. You said you were going to give us a list of all the departments of the
Yes,
addition?
the personnel allocation percentage for each funds, including the special revenue funds.
So you're gonna send that to us?
Yes,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you.
So before we move on, I did have one more question. I know 2 weeks ago we asked staff, we directed staff to find funds to fully fund Parks and Recs for residents of Baldwin Park. Has that been considered in the budget or not yet?
No, we're looking at probably bringing back a program. I know Manny's working on that, but we're probably going to be proposing some ARP funding to do that, at least for the first year.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so if there's no more questions or comments regarding the open session, I believe at this point we can move to closed session.
Yes, and the attorney will be, and Ben will be joining us by Zoom. So we'll
Okay.
have Mark shut this one off and ask everybody to leave.